Incoming, incoming, incoming. Incoming, incoming, incoming. Incoming, incoming, incoming.
Oh my goodness, what is going on? What is this?
I am so scared.
Oh my goodness,
It's a bunker. What?
a bunker.
What is a bunker?
How long are we gonna be here? What are we gonna do? What are we doing?
It's supposedly bomb-proof.
Oh, that helps.
What?
Supposedly.
Hey, you look like somebody who knows what's going on here.
Yeah, let me tell you guys a little bit about it.
I'm a little friend.
Well, welcome to Forward Operating Base Delta on Cook, Iraq. This is our life support area, our neighborhood. Those buildings you've been living in, those are your containerized housing units. We call them shoes. It's not a pretty neighborhood, but it's the Ritz compared to Tent City. Over there, I have my own AC unit and even a window. The view isn't great. It's a T-wall. T-wall is those tombstone-shaped walls surrounding our life support area. Now they protect us from shrapnel blasts and bombs. Unless, of course, the bomb lands directly in our life support area.
Oh,
Whoa.
Jesus.
But then at least our neighbors won't be affected. Now my property value is further increased by this bunker we're sitting in right now. This bunker will protect us from exploding pieces of metal during this munitions event. Now incoming alarms can last anywhere from 30 minutes to 8 hours. So we're gonna get to know each other pretty well.
Oh, wow. I guess
So you guys
so.
know, my name's Adam.
Hi, hi, Ed. You guys can call me Bob.
I'm Liz.
I'm Yolanda.
Tony.
I'm Richard.
Cornelius.
I'm Marielys.
Great.
Well, what are we gonna do?
What? For 8 hours?
For 8 hours, we gotta do something. Get to know each other.
Anybody got a story to tell?
All right, one thing I noticed when we were coming in, we all just kind of ran in. Now, that may not sound like much, but when you think about it, it's not really what the military's taught us to do. They just taught us everything do in line. Yeah. Well, actually, it's kind of easy by the time the military comes along. We learn about being in line in elementary school. They line us up. Sometimes alphabetical, sometimes low to high, high to low, whatever they want. But it's always form a line. So by the time we go to be recruited, we just normally do it. And then they send us to boot camp. And that's like advanced in line. Because they tell you how to everybody step out on the right foot, and then do left face, or right face, about face, to the rear march. In fact, that mentality is so perverse, they even make sure your underwear is in line. So, we all graduated from in-line school, and we stood in line to get to our, to the buses that took us out to where we were going to be stationed. I happened to be stationed aboard the Nimitz, and yeah, there was a line to go up the gangplank, and they took me to the bunks, and I waited. And eventually, I found the first line that made some good sense. That was the chow line. I love the chow line. Almost as good as that was the mail line. I mean, everybody stood in line to get the mail. Most of it was, you know, pictures and messages from the people who loved you. Mine was from the lawyer who was handling my divorce. Yeah. Finally, it became final somewhere between Virginia Beach and Rota, Spain. But fortunately, in our squadron, we had lots of officers, or at least one, that would go ahead to each port of call. He would arrange so that we have some very good Liberty calls. We stand in line to get to the Liberty launch that would take us to shore, and then we'd go out to all these different places. So while I was out there, I saw the Vatican, I saw Stonehenge, the Grotto of the Nativity, got to ride a camel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then we had this one special time. The boat stopped in Naples, and everybody had liberty to get off, call home for Christmas. Now, back then, they didn't have cell phones yet, so nobody could call from the boat. We had to go ashore. There was this great big bank of phone booths. So we got in line to get into the Liberty launch, to go to shore, to get in the line, to go to the phone booths. And yeah, I managed to call home, and I got my youngest daughter, and she was all happy. Christmas was really special for her. And she put me on with my older daughter, and Ursula said, "Oh, Daddy, you want to talk with new Daddy?" I politely said no. Hung up, then got back in line to go back to the boat. So that's my lying story.
Wow. Being in the military is hard, you know? I mean, come
Yeah.
on, look where we are, hiding in a bunker.
Yeah.
But do you guys want to know what's even harder?
Harder?
Being a military wife. Being a military wife comes without the title, without the rank, without the training, and also without the brotherhood that accompanies the life of a soldier. And that, my friends, that's not an easy pill to swallow. I still remember when I became an army wife when I was 20 years old. That was 21 years ago. When I became Mrs. Morales, I was already a soldier who had been trained to kill, trained to go to war, trained to survive in the most difficult situations, but also trained to save lives. Yes, I was trained to be a combat medic in the military, a job that I loved. But one thing the military never trained me for was to become an army wife. I have a friend, her name is Rocio. Rocio once asked me how it felt to be a military wife. When she asked me that question, as much as I wanted to find the words to answer, I couldn't, so I froze. After a while, Rocio changed the topic, and I never got the chance to answer her question. But now that I think about it, I do have an answer to Rocio's question. Military wife comes from all backgrounds, and all of us characterize ourselves as being strong individuals, able to run a household by herself, but also experts at making miracles out of nowhere. You might be asking, what's wrong with that? Well, let me tell you what's wrong with that. Have you ever been in a position where being strong is the only choice you have, even when your entire world is collapsing on top of you? Well, that's what military wives do every single day. And again, that's not a job that we are trained for. Different to our soldiers, they do get training for such challenging jobs. We don't. We're just expected to do the job and move on. As a soldier, I had many great experiences, as well as some challenging ones. But none of those experiences could ever compare to what I was living at home as an Army wife. There were moments in my military career when I questioned my commitment to the military. And no, I don't mean my commitment as a soldier. I mean my commitment as an Army wife. I still remember when my husband, Alex, was sent to West Africa for 18 months. Believe me when I say that those were the longest 18 months of my life. At that time, I was not only serving in the military myself, but I also immediately became the sole caregiver of 3 children. Children who needed my full support, my full attention, but 3 children who also used to go to bed every single night crying because they didn't know when or if their father was going to come home again. How did I survive those 18 months, you may ask? Well, let me tell you. I became a functional zombie. A zombie that I was able to keep 3 kids alive, that I was able to run a household by herself. But mostly, a functional zombie that was able to stay strong amid all the challenges that came into her life during those 18 months. Challenges that I had zero control over them, but that I knew that I had to overcome for the well-being of not only my children, but also my family. The bottom line is, Marielys, the soldier. Marielys, the soldier, was a very strong individual. But Marielys, the Army wife, had to be an even stronger one. And again, that's a job I was never trained for, but one that I proudly did so that my husband could serve his country without having to worry about anything other than the mission he was assigned to do. And for that, my friends, I can proudly say that I'm not only an Army veteran, but I'm also a badass Army wife.
Well, in 1968, I was sitting in a hospital in Brooklyn as a resident, and I received this letter that said, "You're now in the military, and a bus ticket to Camp Lejeune in North Carolina." So where do you think I was? The next morning, I was at the Marine Corps base at Camp Lejeune. And this was during the Tet Offensive in Vietnam. So they put me in the Special Forces, 2nd Recon, 6th, 7th Marine, and they sent me overseas. And during one of the occasions, here I was on a beach with my foreman, and suddenly an emergency call came in that there was a Marine in a mountain who was screaming in pain. We packed up, 4 of my foremen and myself, went through the jungles, got to the base of the mountain. You could hear him screaming. Crawl up, he was curled up, screaming in pain, and held his abdomen. So I told him who I was, and I examined him, and he had extreme pain around his spleen. So I asked him, "Do you have sickle cell disease?" And he said, "Yes." I have a trait. And I said, you are now in a sickle cell crisis. You need blood, and you may need to have your spleen removed. So I gave him some morphine, and my foreman helped him up, and they put him on my back, tied his hands and his feet with shoelaces. And we came down the mountain. And we got down the mountain, and we put him in a stretcher, carried the stretcher back through the jungle to the beach. And there waiting for me is the commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel David Toomey, whom I got the Holy Cross with. If ever there was a good Catholic and a straight shooter, this was the guy. He did everything by the book. And he said to me, Tony, what's wrong? And I said, I have a Marine here who's in a crisis with sickle cell disease. He needs to be transfused and possibly have his spleen taken out. He said, what? Starts to roll up his sleeve. I said, whoa, whoa, Dave, wait a second. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Where am I going to type and cross people? How am I going to operate on a beach? I have no anesthesia. He said, well, what do you suggest? Well, I said, in my humble opinion, why don't you call a helicopter and let me worry about it? So he did. I moved the patient down the beach. I surrounded him with 28 corpsmen and myself. And as soon as I heard the helicopter, we all lit up our Zippo lighters. And there was a circle of fire around him, which the pilot could easily see. So we lowered a steel cable with a hook, which I put on that stretcher, lifted that stretcher up, and they took him away to a hospital. I found out later on that he was transfused and didn't require surgery. And in 6 weeks, he was back again, fighting like a Marine.
Oh.
Wow. Well, I don't have a story, but I do have a poem.
All right. Yes.
I feel honored. What makes me feel honored as a veteran? Being among the ranks of all people, of all ages, and all services through all times, who have served to defend American freedoms. I feel honored. Standing at attention when I hear the national anthem of this great country, I feel honored. Seeing and hearing Old Glory waving in the wind, I feel honored. Reminiscing about those days, looking at old photographs, swapping stories with fellow vets, I feel honored. When someone looks me in the eye and says to me with a sincere heart, thank you for serving, I feel honored. It is a privilege to be one of the select few who can say, I am a veteran of the Armed Forces of the United States of America, and I feel honored. To veterans everywhere, thank you for serving. I honor you.
Yeah.
Actually, I do.
All right.
Wounded warrior. I met a wounded warrior, Sister is her name, crying on the inside, a smile on her face. No gun, no IED, she wasn't shot or maimed, but wounded in the battle, a warrior just the same. Sleepless nights, she relives the assault, bloody deep. She carries scars within her soul, memories to keep. Her war goes on inside her, walking wounded, some would say, but she will share her story, healing day by day. She's courage and she's valor. She's honor on my page. She's strength and she's resilience. Her story not erased.
Thank you very much.
That
I-
was great.
I haven't been much at poetry. I dabbled a little bit with the haiku stuff.
Oh, yeah, we did that.
What is the
Wow.
haiku?
It's a kind of Japanese poetry. Rather than rhyming, they try to have the same number of syllables or a set number per line. And just coming on base here, when I saw the flag up there, I was thinking, 7 bright white stripes of red, 6 white in between. I wonder how many stars.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good one.
And one I've carried around for a long time is our secret fears, safer than reality, keep us from growing.
Just hear me out. Babies cry, people die, wars are waged. Is God to blame for this?
Wow, that's good. Very good, good question.
If you only have one tool and it happens to be a hammer, the world looks like a nail.
All right.
Richard, do you have one?
You know, I was thinking with all the communication, the only communication I got with my family is through Facebook, and apparently everybody has a Facebook page. Grandma looks so adorable on her Facebook page. I love all their pictures, and
Yeah.
she doesn't update her status as often as I would think she would. But that makes me think. I'm trying to get these syllables down to this 575 for haikus. People on Facebook, wait, are those robots again? Internet is home? Yes. Here I am again. What do I do with myself? When is forever?
All right.
Sure, I could probably think of a couple. Venture past the wire. Sweltering kit, weapons hot. The sun gets higher.
Yeah.
One more.
All right.
Dreary, bleak, and grim. Torrid, no one watches him. The porta potty.
Incoming. Dive high. Praying for we are all here. Hearing only moans.
Shooter in a school, children screaming, scared to death. Hero shoots him first.
In conflicts of war, a soldier fights and defends. Freedom is not free.
True.
You know, freedom is not free. Freedom isn't free. Why did I join the army? College was on sale.
Yeah, I have one more.
All right.
Heroes risk their lives, others' lives before their own. Heroes come and go.
All right.
Well, since I didn't know what a haiku was, I wrote a haiku poem. I joined the army when I was 18 years old. What was I thinking? They shipped me away to a faraway country. What do I do now? Train, sleep, and repeat. That's all I did for months. The hell with this, bro. You cannot quit now. I kept telling my dumb self. You're right, I said. You're almost done. Stop whining and keep training. The end is coming. I did it at Yale, World, I'm a soldier now. Are you proud of me? Yes, soldier, we are. Now you have a job to do. Go and save a life. Do you have something, Cornelius?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't really do haikus like that. I guess I do a little poetry. Well, something like it. I rap. Would you guys like to hear it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
You need to beat your tongue.
Yeah. Check. 1996 marks the year of deliverance. I was pushing through the womb of the strong and feminine. Limited on day one, the earth became my nemesis. Not the same place I read in the book of Genesis. Mama and dad, they were awfully sad, watching me get cut to place colostomy bag on the side of my ab. Plus 9 surgeries, hefty hospital bills. We don't have that kind of cheese. It was sickening to see. I felt like 50 degrees. It's a cold world, man. I wasn't fishing to freeze. Out like losers in the back where it rains. If the clout don't take 'em, shake his hand in his shame. Got some government grain like I was disabled. Used to sit around the house watching no good cable. Had the old Xbox, I wish my life were like Fable. Was a hero for once, it took my mind off my navel. My self-hate talk had changed the way that I walk. It would tick at me like I was facing a clock. I was awakened a lot because of adrenaline rush. I was never secure, that's why I'm so out of touch. My bigger brother is tough, although we both had it rough. He didn't get it from home, the public showed him true love. But I'm the opposite, now I sit in colleges. On top of that, my wife, she won a doctorate. Not out to make a dollar quick, my roommate padded. Was an addict, but charismatic, combative, above the average. Savage and 80s fabric, equally qualified to uniquely spit poltergeist. I completely reorganized my life, I gave it to Christ. I wanna lose it, I'm ruly music pollution. Subdue the genre confusing, I'm due a student like me following y'all and likely, I'm following God the high king. I know when I fall, he got me, my life was on pause to be free. I come down to Florida, my mom died of cancer, and every other time I ask, God would give me an answer. That's where my college grind. No, your boy has never been pampered, and it all combined. But I will not throw temper tantrums, not for dollar signs. I just kick it in public schools, telling kids how it works, hope they follow the rules. Catch me out at USF, officially I'm a bull, I'm on it. I gotta get it, cause I grew from the bull. Who would have ever knew I would become brand new, like only several will move and speak the heavenly truth, that I am not about the bezel, but a musical flute that earn a medal. Even ghetto see I'm present for you. They say you're welcome, then I tell them that I do what I do. I know when hell come, many of them gonna lace up their shoes. The life give you jabs, gotta eat all the punches. Thought I'd never make it through the hall in those school lunches. God is good, oh yes he is. I'm qualified to mentor to a lot of the kids. I had it rough to make a difference in the way that you live. So let me introduce you to the man of the year.
Look, I don't really do it. I gave y'all the poetry I got. So let me tell you my story. As the artists on stage warm up, the crowd is roaring with aggression. And as the bands begin to play, the crowd is getting darker and darker. I'm starting to feel uncomfortable. I know this isn't the place for me. But as the bands begin to play, the crowd starts to rip me apart. And right as I feel as I'm going to give up and perish forever, a perfect white light shines above the bleachers. And somehow I knew that was Jesus. And a lull, a hush came over the crowd. And he asked if anyone wants to come with him instead of attend the show. And I raised my hand, yelled my name, and he floated all the way over across the top of the audience and picked me up. When he opened his arms, the people tearing me apart spread off me with no power, and he embraced me with a hug and took me over to these bleachers. And he stood me up on the first step, and it looked higher than anything I've ever stood on top of before. It looked like normal bleachers on the way over, but one top it. And he waved me up from where I was to follow him to the top. And I thought, no way, I can't do that. goes against my natural thinking. Then he's waving at me to come on, hurry up, let's go. He's giving me that look like, I'm not telling you again. Let's give it a shot. So here we go. I go to step. Oh, lost my footing. Feels like I'm falling forever. But he swoops in under me with perfection and puts me up on the second step. And it looks even higher than the last one. He's giving me the look again, like, come on, come on. So I say, all right, well, I didn't show up to disappoint. I try to get off the next one. Oh, no good balance. And I fall again. He swoops under, takes me all the way up to the top of the bleachers, and we land on the ground, and it looks like a desert. Now, he's pointing across the desert. And I'm looking at this desert going, I don't think so. You want me to go there? I don't think I can make it. All the way across? I can't even see all the way across. So he's still pointing. And I can feel the heat off it. It's like lava. It looks like sand, but it's lava. So I get close. All right, it's starting to get real high. I get real close. No way. No, I can't do that. I wouldn't survive. No way. But still, he points across. And then he takes my hand and we walk out across. He shows me that it's hurting his feet too, but we walk across, so I wasn't scared. And we're walking for a while, and I feel like I'm burning up, like my body is burning completely up. And we get to a wooden structure built around what looks like a well. And there's a cactus growing out of what looks like the area around the well. He sits me up on top of the wooden structure, and he just grabs a piece of the cactus, breaks it off, pops the top off it, and just starts drinking. And that looked pretty cool to me. But the pokey things on the cactus, I couldn't grab that. I don't know who you think I am. I can't mess with that. So I go to reach out and grab it. Ah! Now my hand is hurt. He grabs the thing I was reaching for, pops the top off. Now I'm drinking it. It is the best tasting drink I've ever had. I wanted to sit at this well and drink cactus juice with an ornery raggedy camel and Jesus forever. But he looked at me like it's time to go. I'm confused. He knew I wasn't in any shape to make it back, so he puts me on top of the raggedy camel. So here I am on a camel, first camel ride. Now I feel like I'm all burnt up. I just wanted some more of the juice. But we go back, and it seemed as though we were on a special forces mission to sneak up on the people at the stage. So I'm riding along, Jesus is walking, camel's frustrated, we're feeling drained. So we sneak around the corner, and Jesus, with one fell swoop, broadens his arms across the crowd, and everybody in the crowd is now no longer dark, but dressed in white robes, and it seems as though their flesh is made of gold. And then there's Christian bands on stage, and Jesus takes me from the outside of the audience, places me back where he found me from in the audience, and it looks as though I'm made of gold, and I'm wearing a gold robe. I don't know about this robe, but the flesh being gold is pretty cool. And there's Christian bands on stage, and I had never felt joy like that. And I wanted to just stay there forever. But instead, I woke up out of a 17-day coma at the Tampa VA. And I've been jamming with Jesus ever since.
You know, your story really inspired me, Richard. I keep with me something that my friend wrote a long time ago, and I would like to read it to you guys.
All right, let's go.
And that.
calls it my 9/11. It was already a scorching hot day. You would have never thought it was only mid-morning. It was a dry heat, the heat you feel when you open the door of a hot oven. You could feel the pores on your skin immediately open as sweat starts pouring out. Walking from indoors to outdoors put such a toll on your senses, that dry heat. It made you have to forcibly take that initial breath, filling your nostrils and lungs with hot air, air that had the stench of burning trash. The brightness of the sun was so brilliant that your squinting eyes watered to prevent them from drying out. You'd expect, as bright as it was outside, that the sky would be clear and a beautiful blue color. Not so. The sky was colored with browns, yellows, and streaks of black. Yep, your typical Iraqi day. The only thing that made any day bearable was calling home after a long night shift. How wonderful was it to hear the familiar voices of home, Mom, Dad, and Sissy. You could hear the worry in their voices, only to assure them you were doing fine. There was also such pride in their conversation as they spoke. Was I now a responsible grown man and not the stupid awkward kid I thought I was? Would I be having this conversation if I was not in the military? They must have heard a change in me that I was unaware of. Just another day, walking to my tent after a long shift and a call home. With each step, the sound of rocks crunching and shuffling underneath my feet. Only a few hundred more feet and then I can get some sleep. I then heard that dreadful, unmistakable sound, the sound of incoming! But this time, it was a bit different. It made the hairs on my skin straighten and my heart race. I started to run for cover. Was it over? What felt like a split second must have been minutes because I was lying on the ground on my back. Why were all these faces looking at me? Everything seemed to be moving in slow motion as if time was coming to a stop. But my common sense was telling me they were moving with a sense of urgency. I tried to focus. Looks like a lot of them are medics. Yes, they're medics. And this loud ringing in my ears. I can't hear what these folks were saying. It sounded so muffled, like they were talking through a long tube. What was going on? Why can't I feel anything? I want to get up and tell them I'm okay, but I can't communicate anything. Am I in pain? Or am I numb? I'm so unsure of anything. Damn that sun! It's so hot.
Wow, thanks for sharing that. That reminds me of another poem that I'm working on about this place. It's called In the Sandbox. In the sandbox, the sun is hot. Boys and girls just passing the days until moms call them home for supper. Little toy soldiers with plastic guns and tanks, fake trucks and fences in the backyard, sand in their shorts and hair, the aroma of freshly cut grass and honeysuckle, candy and Kool-Aid, giggles and chatter. Just living, not a care in the world when boys and girls are playing in the sandbox. The sun is hot in the sandbox, men and women counting the days. Some never make it home for supper. Real people, live bodies in camis and Kevlar, M4s, M16s, 50 cals, actual bullets and bombs, barbed wire, mortars and IEDs, Bradleys and Humvees and convoys across the desert, dust and sand, in eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and every pore, the stench of burning trash, blood, decay, and death, MREs and tepid water tasting like tin, whispers and screams. Just trying not to die. Does the world even care that American men and women are dying in the sandbox?
story about back home if you want.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Well, Veterans Day this past year was on a Sunday. The restaurants were still giving out free meals on Monday. You already know I was on top of that. I had my schedule for the day packed, and I was looking forward to topping off with a free steak. To me, Veterans Day is a perfect day to relate with fellow veterans and explain your story to civilians. This year I was determined to be as open as possible. Even had my own hat that blatantly stated my own history. First stop of the day was an interview with the property manager. I was looking at a new apartment. Wasn't anything special, but it was within my price range in a decent area. Not bad for someone new to the state. I parked my car right up front, Veterans Day parking. Strolled in the office, my hat on display, smile on my face. I already submitted the paperwork. I met all the financial obligations. My credit was good. I'd even spoken with someone over the phone. This was just a formality, I thought. The board already approved me. Property manager was friendly enough. Good afternoon, happy Veterans Day. And I smiled and shook her hand. The moment became intense. Her eyes seemed transfixed on my head. I spoiled the tension by asking, did the board have time to review my packet? I'm really looking forward to moving in. Yeah, she stammered. Everything checked out, your employment and finances, your credit is excellent. She trailed off again, transfixed on my hat. What is this, I thought? They have everything they need. I work 2 jobs, I go to school full time, the security deposit, first and last month rent, already pending charges. Sorry, Mr. Lincoln, but the board has decided not to accept you as a tenant. She raised her eyebrows, speaking directly to my hat. There is nothing I can do, it's out of my control. The day was not a defeat. I might not get the apartment I want, but there's other options. Less desirable and a little more expensive, but I can figure this out. Next stop, a job interview. I tracked down this job at a veterans job fair. I gave them my resume on the spot, and they called me in for an interview the next week. I worked in the field before, and I was excited to get to work doing something I love. Pay was only slightly better than my last job, but I was looking forward to it. I walked into the office and told the secretary who I was. Again with the staring, still on my hat. I took a seat. Same man from the job fair steps out. He sees my hat and literally grasps at his chest as if he's about to keel over. Mr. Lincoln, thanks for coming. I'm sorry, but we've decided to go a different way. We won't be hiring you. But you looked over my resume. You said I was a perfect fit. It's out of my control. Okay, maybe now it was a defeat, but free food is a good way to cure malaise. I stepped into the steakhouse. The hostess looks at me, and instantly her smile fades. She's looking for an out but can't find one. Reluctantly, after some deliberation, she seats me in the back corner. Far from where most of the veterans sit and swap stories, I ask if I can sit among the rest of the veterans. Let me get my manager. She brings me water. Moments later, the manager steps out. He seems to know everyone in the restaurant. She proudly shakes hands with all the veterans, even gives a sloppy half-assed salute to one of them. Good afternoon, sir. I apologize for this, but we're going to have to ask you to leave. Some of the patrons have been complaining. I blinked twice. Dude, I literally just sat down, and no one is even around me. Look, I just want my Veterans Day steak. I'll be alone in the corner. Sorry, sir. We have a duty to our patrons. It's out of my control. Dejected, I pound feet into my bedroom, flipping over the lid of the trunk at the foot of my bed and nearly tearing the fibers from my hat. I evicted from atop my crown. Gold gloss embroidered, my hat read, Felon, Department of Corrections, number 403574. I buried the hat deep in my chest, determined to never wear it again.
Well, life is very unfair. And by unfair, I mean extremely disappointing. But I still believe. For every 5 good deeds that I do in life, I receive 15 unfair treatments from people who probably have no idea how bad they're hurting me. But I still believe. The homeless veteran in the street reminds me how for some of us, serving our country is just not enough. For some people to see the value in us. Maybe because they don't like the color of our skin or our sexual preferences, or maybe because they dislike the accent that we have when we speak the English language. But I still believe. A loving child who got seriously neglected at the hands of her own mother makes me think how good my kids have it with me as their mother. even when they choose to do rebellious things. Things that sometimes question the job that I'm doing as their mother. But I still believe. Remembering how that lady who's run a stop sign on September 6th, crashing her car into my car, hitting me in my door, thanks to my quick reaction. An impact that probably would have killed me and my daughter right there, shows me how the careless mentality of someone will probably contribute to the end of someone else's life today. But I choose to believe. Knowing that probably my most desired dreams will never become a reality, makes me think that maybe some of us were just not ready to achieve full happiness in life. But I still believe. I look at today's society in which political leaders, political parties, and greedy leaders choose unethical actions over fair treatment. Makes me think that it's time for a change. But a change that needs to start with us changes who we are as a person and what's wrong with us as a person before we can try to change what's wrong with society. Something that unfortunately most of us are not willing to do. But I still believe. You may ask, how can you still believe if life seems anything but fair and all what people do in life is suffer? Well, let me tell you why I still believe. I still believe because when my only brother died on a hit-and-run accident 12 years ago, leaving two beautiful girls behind, and me to think that it was the end of my world also, all I did was to believe. And I was able to live a semi-happy life again. I choose to believe because when my oldest daughter got diagnosed with a life-threatening condition when she was only 13 years old, all I had to do was to believe. And she immediately got better again. I still believe because when I needed a force stronger than myself, in one of the saddest moments of my life, that strong force was right there next to me, guiding me every step of the way and pushing me to believe that everything was going to be okay. And everything did become okay. I still believe because when my life was all shades of dark colors, all I had to do was to believe, and my world became bright again. And I still believe because out of all the problems that I have encountered in my life, none of them has truly broken me. Because as you can see, I'm still standing, stronger than ever, and ready for what life has come in my way. But do you guys want to know why I'm not sad or scared anymore?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Exactly because of the same reason I'm standing right here in front of you today. When a week ago, I seriously thought I wasn't going to be able to do it. And that's because I believed that I could do it. And I did it. For that, my friends, that's exactly the reason why I not only believe, but why I truly, in my heart and soul, I choose to believe.
To me, a hero is someone who gives of themselves unselfishly. Heroes come in all ages and genders. They come from all walks of life. They may be privates or generals. The trait that all heroes have is to unselfish giving of themselves, whether it is saving a life in an operating room, on the battlefield, or giving a kidney to a friend or loved one. Sometimes a hero can pull a person from the very edge of a precipice, a burning building, or a horrific traffic accident. Heroes act without thinking of consequences of themselves.
hero defined? Someone who sacrifices their own life to save someone else's. A person who lives a life of selfless service. A hero is kind and compassionate in spite of their circumstances. A hero defends what is right and true. A hero is like gold purified by fire and diamonds formed by pressure. A hero is a veteran for choosing to do what other civilians chose not to do.
My hero haiku. Forever starts now. Make a difference in this life. You be a hero.
I know you've heard some incredible definitions of what a hero is, but let me tell you about an unlikely hero. During my studies, I spent many years investigating dwarves. I know that sounds crazy, but there are 425 different types of dwarves. One day I was in a clinic in a VA, and I met a young man who was 17 years old. His name is Isaac Greenspan. And essentially what he was a body with a head and a wheelchair. He had little flippers for arms and legs. And I asked him, "How are you?" He said, "I'm fine." I said, "What can I do for you?" He said, "Can you perform miracles?" And I said, "No, but I'll try to do whatever I can for you." And he said, "What I really want in my life is to be able to dance with a girl at my prom and pick up my diploma." I said, "I could do that." So I got to his parents, and I said to them, "This is what we have to do. We have to lengthen both of his arms and both of his legs." And they were willing to do it. So I took him to the operating room, and under literally vocal anesthesia, I didn't have to give him any anesthesia, I put 2 pins above and below the middle of the bone, and I did that for every single bone. Then I put clamps on them and a rod, just tread. Then I made a little incision and broke every one of his bones. And the theory is, and I had to go to Russia to study this and learn all about it, because that's where they invented this. In a 17-year-old boy, boys grow until they're 21. Women stop growing when they're 16. So he was supposedly still growing, although he had these flippers. So I depended on God. And I went in and I broke the bone, every bone. And each day I would turn the nut on the threaded rod, and I'd break the bone, and it would fill in with healing tissue. One tiny millimeter almost a day. Did that every single day on every one of his bones. After about 1.5 years, almost 2 years, with his bones growing at the ends and me growing those bones in the middle, he had normal arms and normal legs, and there he was. I took off the pins. He had a little bit of physical therapy, and the next thing I know, I'm invited to his prom. And there's Isaac dancing with his girlfriend. The next thing I know, he's waving, "Thanks." The next day, he graduated. He walked up. He received his diploma. That was it. That's my hero.
Well, I have many heroes in my life. People like you and me who have made great contributions to this world and should be recognized as such. But today I want to honor the heroes among us. Bob, when I look into your eyes, I see peace and serenity. Adam, when I look into your eyes, I see genuine regret for past mistakes and a bright, bright future ahead of you. Liz, when I look into your eyes, I see positivism and a breath of fresh air. Yolanda, when I look into your eyes, I see unconditional and loving support. Tony, when I look into your eyes, I see dedication mixed with tremendous pain. Richard, when I look into your eyes, I see a remarkable willingness to move forward and an amazing desire to live again. Cornelius, when I look into your eyes, I see a noble, humble, and selfless human being. Marielys, when I look into your eyes, and when I look into the mirror, I love who I see, even when my invisible wounds will try to tell me otherwise. To the military spouses and military brides out there, when I look into your eyes, I see dedication and loyalty to the duty that has been unofficially assigned to you as the dependent of an armed forces member. To the men and women currently in uniform and to all our veterans, when I look into your eyes, I feel safe, I feel strong, I feel your pain and your sacrifices. But I also feel extremely proud to have served my country alongside you. To my bunker buddies, let's stay strong, let's stay united, and let's stay in good spirit, because what's coming our way, guys, is just the beginning of a bright future ahead of us.
At the time that this occurred, I was a medical officer in the United States Navy assigned to the Marine Corps base at Camp Lejeune. On this particular occasion, I was the Atlantic Fleet physician for the fleet heading into the Mediterranean to accomplish missions with foreign countries. But on this particular occasion, the Commodore of the Navy came to my sick bay one day and he said, "Doctor, I want you to write a letter to a family." And I said, "Okay." I've done that literally hundreds of times. He said, "But this is something special. It's about a Marine that we have lost on this trip." And I said, "What do you mean lost?" Didn't know that there was any type of combat. But anyway, I looked into it and I found out that on the ship there were various types of gambling games and so on and so forth. As you know, in the military, there are drugs, there's all types of things happening. He was involved in a game of craps, cheated. It was my job to write his family that he was a hero, that he was killed in action, and he would be honored as a hero. They would set up a burial for him, and and that he would be treated with honor and respect, and that the family should be proud of him. This is all clear. All clear.
Liz Nussmeier, I'm a 12-year Navy veteran. I was a shipboard welder and a welding inspector. Now I'm a stay-home wife and mom. I homeschool my kids, and I enjoy doing art and writing poetry.
Hi, I'm Yolanda, wife of Dr. Tommy. I'm a semi-retired nurse. He's my only patient. I am a mother and a grandmother and a practice at Voices. I want to thank all the veterans that are in the audience and say thank you, but I have a special thank you for my brother, United States Air Force.
I'm Dr. Sterling. I'm a board-certified orthopedic surgeon. I served at Yale University for 28 years. We're now retired.
I'm Richard Ottum, United States Army veteran, Wounded Warrior Program affiliate, alumni, and proud member of the Vet Voices squad here.
My name is Adam Lincoln. I'm a U.S. Army OIF veteran, and I'm currently pursuing a bachelor's in journalism.
Hello, I'm Cornelius Douglas. I'm a proud servant of Yeshua. I'm his non-medical attendant, and I currently attend USF, concentrating on creative writing.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Skillman. I served in the U.S. Navy from 1972 to 1978. I am now retired. I raised 2 daughters, and they in turn are raising 6 grandchildren.
Hi guys, my name is Marielys Camacho-Reyes. I am a U.S. veteran, Army veteran. I joined the military when I was 18 years old, first as a combat medic, and later on as a human resources manager. I am currently a stay-home mom and a wannabe writer.